What's up, family? It's your favorite host, Maria Jordan from Afternoon Tea Radio, and I am sipping tea while spilling tea with Koereyelle. What's up, girl?
In the building. I'm excited to be here. It's like
I'm
full
excited.
circle.
Yes, it is.
Thank you for having me.
You were like, okay, so I don't even know if you remember. When I first started radio, I was on Girl Power Hour, and I just happened to be the co-host there, and Jay was out, and I got to interview on Girl Power Hour. Then I got to interview you on Afternoon Tea Radio on AM. And then,
Okay. Bring it to me. Bring it back.
And now on my YouTube show, I'm interviewing you again.
Come on, third time's a charm. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you for coming. And I mean, you're an inspiration, girl.
Thank you.
You're doing a lot of amazing things.
Doing the most out here, okay?
I love it. I love
you.
it. And what I love most is that you're so open, you're so thoughtful of other people, and it's like you have intent to bring Black women up with you.
That is the goal.
So what made that the goal? Like, what was your experience that make you be like, you know what, I need to put on for everybody else?
You know what is so crazy is that when people used to ask me this a decade ago when I had the Single Wives Club, I really didn't have a reason. Like, I knew I was passionate about Black women, but I didn't really know like what sparked this passion. But after years of therapy and maturation, evolving as a woman, and realizing that I had to empower myself because I didn't have women in my life to empower me. And I didn't realize that because I was used to doing it for myself, it came naturally for me to start doing it for other people. And because I realize and have experienced the value and benefit of empowerment, personally, I feel like I am doing a service for other women who may not have sources of empowerment in their lives as well.
You truly opening up a space for people that really doesn't exist. So there are spaces, but they're not genuine spaces, is what I learned.
That's a thing.
It's a thing.
Hello, Atlanta.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so admirable, and it's so great to see.
Thank you.
And I've been lucky to be in your path several times.
Yes.
So you mentioned like not necessarily having the support. What was it like? Like, how did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, so I did not have a bad childhood.
Okay.
I don't have like a horror story of, we struggle. I didn't live a struggle life. I grew up middle class in the suburbs of Chicago. I lived like on the good side of town. I was like, the little Black girl running to the bad side of town, like trying to get into trouble. So I did not grow up, I don't have a sob story from how I grew up. What I do have, and what I was referencing, was some mommy issues. So this, as I evolved, like I said, as I have matured, as I have just grown up, I've realized that what I thought was normal for me, but on the grand scale of things, it wasn't necessarily normal mother-daughter or sister dynamics.
Yes.
And so getting around other women and seeing how other relationships were, how other mothers mother, and then just realizing what I lacked, that has definitely kind of added to the work that I do. So all of the brands that I've built for the last decade have been for Black women. It's been for different seasons in a Black woman's life, but they're all at the foundation, education-based and for Black women for that specific purpose. So grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, knew that I wanted to be a teacher forever, ever. Went to Tennessee State University. Shout out to all the HBCUs out there. But went to Tennessee State, ended up here in Atlanta to teach, got into an abusive relationship, realized that I did not want to be in that relationship, didn't end up getting married, got engaged, didn't end up getting married, and then was really just on this soul searching, trying to figure out like who I was, what I really wanted, because I literally saw my life like leaving me had I gone down that path and ended up, marrying into that abusive relationship. And so that was kind of the catalyst of what set me up for all of this empowerment work. That was the time in my life, the season where I really had to empower myself, pick myself up and figure out, okay, what do you want to do next? And so that's long story short, but your girl has been through it, good and bad. And the businesses that I've started, the brands that I've built have all been a reflection of where I am on my journey.
So what gave you the courage to open and start all these businesses? Because it seems like something come in your head and you just be like, okay, well, let's just do this.
I'm not afraid to try.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to try.
Were
I'm
you
not
always
afraid to
like
fail.
that?
Always. I'm not afraid to try.
Wow.
I'm not afraid to fail. And I think that early successes, and I talk about this whenever I'm talking about goal setting. It's like,
Yeah.
if you can achieve that small goal,
Yeah.
that's going to give you that boost of confidence that, okay, if I did that, I can do this. I can do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I think that because I have never really been afraid to try, I think it came from, again, that lack of empowerment of me not necessarily having someone that's going to, oh, baby, you can do it and you got this. I didn't have that, so I had to be that. I had to be that for myself. And because I had to be that, I'm like, well, shit, I'm going to try it. You know, the worst case, worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work out, but it's definitely not gonna work out if I don't even try it. So that has kind of always been my spirit.
And it's interesting though, because everyone doesn't choose that path. Some people are influenced by the way they're raised and they then project in that way. Did you make a conscious decision, or was it already in you? Like, did you change? Like, do you feel like you used to be like, girl, I'm good on that, and then all of a sudden you're like, how can I help? Like, what happened?
So I don't think it's necessarily been a how can I help. I don't think I've had that foresight to set out and do this thing. I have always been willing to share. Like, I've always been the type of person. I like to, Harriet Tubman is like the best example I could think of, because Harriet Tubman, it was not enough for her to find freedom for herself. She had to go back and help the other people who she saw struggling. Yeah. She had to go back and share those resources, and that has always been in me. That I'm not a gatekeeper. I have never felt threatened by helping somebody else win. That's just not. I don't feel like that. I don't feel like if I help you win, I'm going to lose something. And I think that has been like the common denominator in what I've done. I didn't realize that was like a thing.
It's a thing. And I think that a lot of people, especially women, and we'll get into this more, like, I think Black women, because it might be hard for us to get places and to grasp things, especially when you're in like corporate America and you're not necessarily creating your own space. When you get it, it's hard to share. Like, you're like, I don't want to lose this, So with that said, there's a stereotype that Black women don't get along and Black women just don't get along with each other. Do you think there's truth in that, or do you think that that's just something that they want to pin on us?
Both. I think two things can be true at the same time.
Yes.
So I do think that, and I don't think it's just Black women. I think even if we talk about like the gender war with Black men against Black women, I think that Black people are still dealing with post-traumatic slave syndrome. And during slavery, we didn't trust each other. We were taught not to trust each other because that was not good for the system. If we if we trusted each other, if we banded together, if we gained any type of strength, we were punished for that. And so that is in us. And so I think that Black people are dealing with a whole set of issues that are not even from our lifetime. Like, we're dealing with things that we were literally born into. And so I do think there is truth to that. I think we have to get over a whole lot of hurt, of pain, of trauma. Even, again, referencing my childhood and me not realizing the issues that I had until I am here as a grown woman. If I don't even recognize that I have these issues, I definitely can't fix them. I can't fix them. I can't communicate them. I can't talk about what I need because I don't even know what I need. So there's a whole lot of healing that I think has to happen. But I do think that Black people support one another. Like, we hold each other down. There are Black businesses that are in business and stay in business strictly from their Black customers. So I don't think that is a fair assessment, but I do think there's some truth to it. It's just not really our fault.
It's not. I can't agree with you more. I think that, like I was saying before, especially in corporate America, like, you have right now, you'll see a lot of people getting opportunities because they are trying to diversify the company. And I think sometimes it can be difficult for a Black woman in power I don't think it's difficult, but I think mentally it's like, oh gosh, I got here because I'm kind of working with the way they want me to be, you know, and I don't want to push it too far and then I don't fit in anymore. But at the end of the day, you got to pull people up with you. Like, we got to change the narrative. And then you got it where we're like, we feel like I feel like we're harder on ourselves.
Of course.
So like, it's like, oh girl, if you want this position, I can't just refer you to it because you my friend. You're going to have to do 10 times better everything else. I'm like, well, they don't do it like that. He let his best friend become the CEO. You know what I mean?
I think that's a woman thing and a black woman thing, because men, black or white, will go out here and apply for jobs, get in positions that they are very much so underqualified for, and won't think twice about putting in an application. But we deal with imposter syndrome so much so it affects us, and then it affects the opportunities we're willing to extend to other people as well.
Yeah. And it's like, how do we change that? I think you're creating spaces like that on your own. How do we do that in spaces that we're not creating on our own?
Ooh, Maria, you know what? I don't like to talk about stuff I don't know about. And I'm going to be honest with you. I have 0 days of experience in corporate America. My professional experience was as a classroom teacher. And I taught in the black school with all women and one male. You know, the principal was a male and we had one male teacher. So I have only known professional settings with black women.
Do you think that has influenced you?
Listen. Let me tell you what I do have experience with. So I do have experience with, and I think it might be a little bit of this, of even though the whole environment was black, we did have a black woman administrator, and she was hell. And I do think that a part of her being hell, a part of her being so not even hard on us, but just micromanaging and just nitpicking and all of those like hellish manager stories that you hear, I think that did come from her feeling like she had to prove herself. She had to be harder on us because of whatever expectations she thought that, you know, people had on her. So I do think that there is, you know, it's some pressure. Of that again, it's subconscious. You don't even know why you are doing the things that you're doing. It's just what comes natural to you because of this position that you found yourself in.
Do you think that, I think of like reality TV and the shows that are most popular in the media, like that's all you see. You see us pulling each other hair out and it be popular.
Yep.
Like,
that's what pays.
Yes. So who is this narrative serving? Like, how do we change it? Because
Grown Woman TV. So listen,
let's talk about it.
Truly, and that, you know, shamelessly, because it truly is in my opinion, it's the solution. When we have every mainstream media outlet telling us that black women only show up in this one way, and it isn't even mainstream media only anymore. Now it's like politics. Y'all can do your Googles, your YouTube searches on your own, but some of the black women in political positions of power, the way that they're being showcased and highlighted, and the way that they are just turning up and acting terribly, being an awful representation of black women, I think that it is serving society. Because if mainstream media can convince black women that this is all that you are, this is all you can have, this is all that you can do, this is all that you can be, then we're eventually going to start believing it. And it's evident that we're believing it when, from the school principal to the girl working at the drive-thru, all look the same in terms of the makeup we're wearing, the hairstyles we're choosing, the bodies we're going to buy. We are all fitting into this stereotypical black woman box. And so I think that it's working, but my mission with starting Grown Woman TV, which is a podcast network specifically for black women, created by black women, and it's all about changing that narrative. It's about showing black women in other seasons of life other than the ghetto, ratchet, whatever. And it's so bad that it's literally every show, from the wives, the Real Housewives, the Basketball Wives, to like Married to Medicine, where I thought this would be like a whole doctors, professional people, and no, it's still the same thing. Narrative. And I've had conversations with multiple people that, you know, have tried to step foot into the reality world, and it's very much so, we want you to give us drama. That's all we want. And even if we gonna tape 25 hours of non-dramatic scenes, this 1 hour where you got into it with somebody is what's gonna make the cut. So it's I don't think it's a way for us to win playing their game.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like, we got to create our own spaces, like Grown Woman TV, and But how do we do that? Like, everyone is not co.
Everybody is somebody, though. Everybody has access to the internet.
Yes.
Everybody has a cell phone in their hand.
But some people just don't know how to create in that way. And I feel like that's okay too.
Yes.
So how do we find our space in these in creating or supporting the creator?
Mm-hmm. I think everybody can carve out their own lane. So I literally, like, 5 minutes before, we started doing the show, I saw somebody tweet, like, podcasts are just, I'm getting sick of podcasts. Like, podcasts are getting out of hand. And I'm like, that's like saying I'm getting sick of TV.
Yeah.
You can change the channel.
Yes.
You can turn on a different program. You can subscribe to something else. There is not just podcast. There isn't just this one way of doing things. There are so many different types of conversations. There are so many different types of formats. There are so many different platforms that you can be a part of. So if you're an introvert, Clubhouse is still popping. I'm not on there anymore, but apparently the people are still popping on Clubhouse. So if you don't want to show your face, there's a place for you to do that. If you do want to show your face, but you don't want to show up in real life, there's a place for you to do that too. There are scripted podcasts that you can be a part of, like mystery podcasts, true crime podcasts.
Very true.
There are so many different lanes that you can carve out for yourself. And I think that those people who don't just try to do what everybody else is doing, those are the people who win. I mean, Issa Rae, I always love to mention Issa, because one day Issa's going to see me mentioning her, and she's going to be like, okay, who is this girl? I got to go see her. Issa Rae, to me, is the best example of, I'm not trying to fit in with everybody else. I'm going to carve out my own lane. Do it my way.
Yes.
Do it so well my way that y'all are going to come pay me to continue doing it my way on your platform.
Yes.
She didn't say, well, how can I make myself more
fit in with you all?
She said, I'm an awkward Black girl.
Yes.
And for all the other awkward Black girls out there,
what's up?
Here I am.
Yes.
And so, as crazy as you might be, or as crazy as you might think you are, there's a whole world of crazy people just like you out there who are waiting on you to decide to do it.
And I just feel like, as a Black woman, like, I want to be able to encourage women in all different, even if you're not in entertainment, if you're not in podcasts, if you're not into that, if you're in as a teacher or in corporate America, like, we need to figure out how to, when we band together, like, it's intentional for us not to band together. Like, that type of strength and power would change the world.
Dangerous.
And it's like, what can we do so that we can all get on board? Like, that we are the change we want to see. And I just feel like we got to figure that out. Like,
I think we have to start using social platforms for good. I think that we've been playing a long time. Like, we have been playing on these platforms since Black Planet.
Yes.
And I think that we have really missed out. Like, we've played ourselves on the opportunity to, form a collective or figure it out. I mean, some of these Facebook groups, if we used these groups, like these community efforts, in a positive way, we could actually get some stuff done.
Yeah.
But we just be on there gossiping and telling our business and not being productive. But the same way that we can decide that we're all going to wear this particular type of outfit to go see Color Purple, or to go see the Black Panther, or to go see whatever, we can get together and organize.
Yes.
We just are choosing not to.
we need to.
We need to.
We need to. Okay, so what do you want? Because let's talk a little more about Grown Woman TV. What do you want to, where do you see it? Where do you see it going? Right now, as successful as it is, you have what, 6? Is it 6 podcasts?
We have 8. Yep, we have 8. Yep, 8 shows. We are in the process of launching a couple more, but I envision Grown Woman TV as being like the Netflix for Black women, something for everybody. So when I started the platform, it was really, podcast is all that I had in my mind, because I host podcasts, I produce podcasts. Podcast is what was on my mind. But we had literally launched it, and within a week, I had people reaching out that had other types of content that were looking for distribution. And so that just kind of opened up my eyes to, well, people don't just want to watch podcasts. People watch documentaries. People watch docuseries. People watch reality TV. So one of the shows we have right now is called The First Ladies of Freight. And the creator, Casey Cooper, shout out to Casey. She is actually a Black woman in the transportation industry, Black woman trucker, right?
Wow.
In her own lane, in this space that women, and especially Black women, are not typically in.
Yeah.
And because she's so unique, because she's so successful, she started shopping around this concept for a reality show. Well, all of these companies, these major production companies, they thought it was a great idea, but we need a lot of drama. If you want to, this is a really great show, but we're going to need y'all to do X, Y, Z. And Casey is like, I'm a real businesswoman.
Yes.
Beyond this show, this personality,
this is what I do.
I actually have a legitimate business that I need to make sure I can maintain my reputation, still show up in a way that my family is not going to be ashamed of me.
Right.
And I'm not willing to do it. And so she literally has spent over 6 figures to produce her own reality show. And so when she saw me launching Grown Woman TV, she's like, well, look, I have invested all of this money.
Ready.
I have this content. They're playing games, so let's just put it up, on your Roku channel while we are, negotiating these deals and having these conversations. So Grown Woman TV is the launching pad, hopefully, prayerfully, for women who see themselves on these big platforms but are not willing to sell their souls.
And that's what we need to talk about too. It's okay to say no.
It is.
Sometimes these opportunities come, but they don't fit. And so I know you've heard of Taraji right now, that she's speaking on her not being paid what she should be paid. What's your thoughts on that? Because I'm split. I believe that we are underpaid in so many different avenues, and I also think there's certain things you should walk away from and not accept. What are your thoughts?
2 things can be true at once. I think that... It's so crazy because, the whole Monique thing, like Taraji's saying it now, everybody cares. Monique said it then, nobody cared. Everybody just, called her bitter. And in between the two, Terrence Howard.
Yep.
Terrence Howard came out and was talking about $12,000 that he made from Hustle and Flow.
Yep.
The fact that they intentionally did not credit him. So the intentionality, the way that we are discredited, the way that we are underpaid, the way that we are overworked as Black people, not just Black women, but Black people playing a white man's game, living in a white man's world, I think that, yes, we can all acknowledge that it is unfair. I do also think that sometimes, I think it's really hard. And as someone, wanting to get into media, these are conversations that I'm having with myself all the time, because I'm not willing to sell my soul. However, do you say yes to opportunities that are, I don't want to say beneath you, but do you say yes to these so opportunities in hopes that you can set the stage for the bigger opportunity?
Right.
I think that is the challenge. That's the hard part.
It's a huge challenge.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Because I'm on the same boat. Like, you get these opportunities and you're like, okay, and what you may have been paid before. And you're like, okay, do I do this or do I not? Will this open a door for it? Because that happens too. You do something and then another door opens,
And are you playing yourself if you say no?
Yes.
It's tricky.
It's very tricky. And it becomes, you almost got to create your own space in order to be treated the way you want to be treated. And then also the no drama. I think that Black people in entertainment, like, we've been selling ourselves short for a very long time since we started in this industry, and I think it shows up in a lot of spaces. It shows up in our music. It shows up in our, a lot of things. How do we change it? Like, we have to have some accountability, I feel.
I mean, we are definitely, nobody can play us without our permission. So so many examples right now, Lord. The Grammys, right? Jay-Z is up on stage at the Grammys complaining about the Grammys. It's like, how are we... But you don't show up. You didn't show up to the Source Awards.
Yeah.
You don't care about the BET Awards. We don't support our own. Not even that we don't support our own, because 5 minutes ago I just talked about how supportive we are. So let me not say that. We don't respect our spaces, our Black spaces, as much as we respect those white spaces. We would very much choose to be the token black in the white world than thriving over here in the black world. I mean, don't get me started on like segregation. All of the things where we have just accepted the crumbs versus going up and, you know, building our own.
And I think that it has created, even with segregation, it is literally in our minds that we're less than. Our stuff and our shows, our everything is less just because it's from us. And that's the lie. That's the lie that is stuck in a lot of people's head, where they're trying to, well, I just got to do what I got to do in order to get where I want to go. But where do you really want to go? Like
anywhere that's not where I am. We are just used to not having anything. We're used to having nothing. So we're willing to literally accept the bare minimum. And then we're going to try to keep the next person from getting the bare minimum because we want to make sure we can keep it. So what is the answer? What is the solution? It's such a psychological.
It is. We all need therapy.
Generational. You know what? I have hope though. I feel like our generation now. I'm not a gentle parent. I'm an intentional parent. I'm working on the gentle part. But we are at least attempting to consciously raise our children. And I think that's where it starts. Because our parents just taught us what they were taught with no thought.
Absolutely. But we're also creating spaces. Like you've created a space. We're speaking up about it. We're talking about it more. We're talking about having conversations like this, you know, where like podcasts, it's like TV. It's like a show. It's a whole nother avenue to create content and to start the conversations and to have people think like, well, what can I do different? Who am I supporting? What space can I create?
Or what do I need to work on? Because again, so many things that I have learned about myself have come from just me being around other people who do things differently. So podcasts are a great way to just expose yourself to people who otherwise, most of us, the people in our circles are people similar to us. Like we are usually spending the majority of our time with people who share the same beliefs, share similar habits. So
the algorithm is the
algorithm. And on the internet, we find people who are just like us. So podcasts allow you to get different perspectives, which can just teach you so much.
And one of my goals this year is to put myself in different spaces. So like networking, outside of just going to a network event, I'm talking about joining clubs, like creating a different, because one thing I find for myself is like my friends are not necessarily going to be my best supporters. You know, they got their own thing going on. We're just we're friends. It has nothing to do with what they'll support me, but not at the level of your tribe. And so now I'm like, okay, I need to find my tribe. Like I need to find people who are into and want to do and have the same goals as me, who I can grow with. And I think it's really important for us to be intentional in this season. You know, like, what do you want to do? How do you want to change? Stop complaining. We can't keep complaining and then contribute. And so what are we going to do different? And what can I do different? It doesn't have to be huge. It could be something as simple as, well, you know what? I did just get this promotion. Let me train this girl up with me. Let me just train her so that she's ready, you know? And I think it's just important that we're intentional, because they're intentional. And to be clear, white folks don't care if they know any. They going to let their cousin Bobby get the job, whether he's and figure it out later. Like we need to have the same mentality.
We do.
I truly believe that. Like, you create spaces just because, and we'll get this thing going.
We'll figure it out. Yes, we will figure it out. I'm gonna put you in position, and then whatever we got to Google, whatever we got to research, whatever we got to find out, we can figure it out together.
So, what do you want your legacy to be?
Ooh, not hit me with the deep question.
Yes.
What do I want my legacy to be? I want to be remembered for not being afraid to keep trying. I mean, anybody who, I don't even know when our first encounter was, but anybody who has known me over the last decade knows that I have literally tried it all. Like I always say, if it is legal, I've done it. I've done it. If it's legal, I have sold it. I've tried to figure it out, because I'm not afraid to figure out what I'm supposed to do, what God is calling me to in this season, what my purpose is. I'm not afraid of that. And I think that spirit inspires other people. It's gotten some people into some trouble too, because they be like, well, girl, you was out here doing a million things, so I thought I could do a million things. Girl, don't.
We are not the same.
You could do everything. You just cannot do everything at the same time. I truly have learned that lesson the hard way. But that energy, that spirit of try it. You cannot fail. Like, you're going to figure it out. And you know, you could take a L, which could either be a loss or a lesson. That to me is going to be my legacy. Like, she tried it.
Yes. Then she made it.
And then she made it. She figured that thing out, baby.
Created a whole space of her own. I'm so excited for you. I've told you this before. I think Grown Woman TV is going to be bigger than you think.
Thank you.
I truly do. I think it's going to be like a BET.
Come on.
I do.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Yes. All right. So, what's up next?
Ooh, what's up next? So I just recently launched a blog. It's called everybodylied.com. I actually had a blog literally a decade ago. So I'm bending the block, coming back around because I'm tired of Instagram, y'all.
Yes.
I am so over the 3 to 5 days and trying to figure out the algorithm. I'm over all of that.
Yeah.
So my blog, I'm super excited about that. It's an opportunity for me to get more personal. And it's called everybodylied.com because everybody has lied to us. They lied about going to school, getting the good grades, getting the good job, living the good life, having to have kids by a certain time, having to get married by a certain age. They just lied about so many things that I literally learned on my journey that, wait a minute, all of this that I thought, no, that's
it ain't
not
even necessary.
It ain't necessary. It ain't how it's going to go. That's not how it works. It just... all a lie. So everybodylied.com is all about transitioning into motherhood. So becoming a new mom, marriage, becoming a new wife, and then new adventures. So as I'm out here learning how to cook, as I'm out here going on these trips, traveling with these kids, I'm sharing it on the blog. So I'm excited about that.
I love that. So how is mommy life?
You know, I really can't complain. I be talking about I be really complaining about my kids a lot, but I am a little dramatic. They are not that bad.
Yeah.
I do have 2 under 2 for the next couple weeks. My 2-year-old's about to turn 3.
Oh, nice.
And my baby just turned 1. Yep. So I feel like I can breathe a little bit, you know, now that the baby's not necessarily on my hip. He's walking around and moving on his own and, you know, his own little guy. So it's exciting. I have a lot to look forward to. They're starting to like have their own little relationship. So that's cute. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And even though it's a lot with them being so close in age, it'll be beneficial.
I am prayerful. It'll be
beneficial.
Yeah.
All right, girl. Well, thank you so much for joining me on Afternoon Tea Radio. Please tell everyone how they can follow.
Yes. So Grown Woman TV on all platforms, grownwomantv.com. If you want to watch our content on YouTube, you can go to watchgrownwomantv.com. If you want to watch us on Roku, you can search for Grown Woman TV. Hit the plus sign, add channel, and then search for Grown Woman TV. And if you want to follow me, I am at Koereyelle on all social platforms. You can connect with me and check out all 4 of the podcasts that I host. I'm crazy, I know, but I got something for everybody.
She do. She's amazing. So make sure you are following Ko. Also, make sure you listen to Afternoon Tea Radio every Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube as well as on iHeartRadio. Thank you for listening.